We're back with What Has Stadia Done Now. And before we kick things off, we have to hear from our tonight's sponsor.
Thank you to channel member Raven Anime.
So,
there we
back
go.
Again. We're back
We are.
again.
It's Wednesday. We're back. We're here to talk about Stadia. And before we go any further, we have to say to anybody that's watching, we need to be gentle with Duncan tonight because he's not feeling the best. Some may term it as man flu, but he's not feeling the best. So we're gonna be nice.
Yes, I know, and I've had some of them lovely COVID tests over the last week just to be on the safe side. Oh, you have to stick it down your throat, then up your nose, and it's all good, correct?
Gotta make sure you do it in the right order.
Yes, you do. I haven't actually done that as yet, thank goodness.
I don't actually know anybody that has, to be honest, but I'm sure there is somebody.
You could see people doing that by mistake, without thinking.
Yeah, you could.
That's going to happen to me, isn't it?
It is.
Happen to me. But it's all fun. So how have you been this week?
Yeah, I've been all right. Work's been a bit mad, a bit crazy, so I've been pretty busy. And in some respects, I feel like I've had to wind back a little bit of the clock because I've been having to do some of the work again. But it's good fun.
Yes, absolutely. It's always fun in work and all that. Who can't? I can't wait to give up work, so I can't.
I know.
It'd be absolutely brilliant too. But it's fun. So we're back in the Stadia land. So what has? Before we go there, hi Cloud Gamer, thanks for joining. Good. I hope you start to feel better soon. It's not good at carry on at all. It's scary, all this, and everybody's overthinking if they've got a cold or if they're cold or COVID. I know we shouldn't be that about it, but
I know, but it's true though, because I think for the biggest part of last year, it felt like anybody that was ill had COVID. So kind of like this year, it's sort of obviously it's not gone away, but now like people get colds and kind of symptoms and all that sort of stuff, and it does make you think, oh crap, and then you've got to, as you've been doing, go through the test and all that sort of good stuff.
it's not good stuff. We're not. Anyway,
you know what I mean. Good stuff in the sense of looking after yourself and making sure that you're good.
yes, I have to. Oh, I just realised I'd better delete that video just in case I accidentally play that video. We don't want to play that video. Do you know what it was? Was it just deleted?
I don't know what it was, but
well, that actually sounds worse than it really is. It was the GFN games video. That was. I didn't want to play that. Believe it or not, I don't. If I'm going to troll people, I just say I'm going to troll people. But no, that wasn't it. But this is what we're having a look at tonight. We're going to have a look at this week on Stadia blog. We're going to have a wee yarn about Jade Raymond. Phil Harrison, he's alive and well and still at Stadia. We also will be talking about Ghost Recon Frontline. If you haven't seen that news, we'll give you a wee update on that. We will go through the Stadia sales and what's going on with the game patches on Stadia.
what is going on with the game patches on Stadia?
They're not.
We'll come to that later.
But we will come to that shortly anyway. So this week on Stadia, we will kick this off. We have this blog post, and the first thing they're kicking off with is Destiny 2 Season 15 and the Festival of the Law. So we're into Halloween. I know I've been playing a bit more Destiny over the last couple of weeks. It's just a great game to just jump in and have a bit of fun with.
Yeah, definitely. I know we did a play along on it a couple of weekends ago, and it was great fun. And I was playing that on Stadia for our play along, and it was running super well. It's amazing how much come back to it time and time again, how well it actually runs on the platform, which is brilliant to see.
Yes, and why does it run really well on the platform? Because it's 60 FPS, and we're not going down that route again.
Not again.
Not again. Not again. It's one of them things, 60 FPS doesn't matter until it does matter, but Destiny 2 was the showpiece game for Stadia for nearly a year and a half. I was thinking until the next gen versions got updated on the current gen consoles, if that made a bit of sense there, until they got onto the 60 FPS. Stadia was probably your best place to actually play Destiny because of the 60 FPS until they got it updated. And with them having cross-play and cross-progression, it is the perfect game to play on Stadia, even if you want to just dip in and play it.
Yeah, it really is. It's nice and easy just to kind of jump into it and enjoy it.
Yeah, Polaris, knock that in the head. I told you about 10 minutes ago, just knock that in the head. But I'm not going to say whatever. I'm just going to say, I hear again, just congratulations. And I'm not going to say anything else but congratulations. And we think that's absolutely awesome. But I think both of us would echo that.
Aye, definitely.
We will move on to a a game announcement for Stadia, and it is Ben 10 Power Trip. This was sort of leaked out there, if you want to call it a leak, on one of the game listing boards, and it's here, it's coming. It's another kids game. Can't say no to another kids game or another game in general, and it is $30, so we're probably going to see when is that? That's on Friday. It'll be about £20, I would say. Another game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of going to bridge. It's going to kind of bridge a couple of gaps, isn't it? I'm sure you'll get a few adults that will want to pick it up and play it, and then obviously, likewise, if you want to attract the kids, get them to play, and kind of get them into games. I think it's going to be that's going to be a good option, for them to pick up and play.
Yeah. Again, more games the better. I really. Please, the next blog post. We know so many games are coming. Just reiterate the games which are coming and give us a sort of time scale. Even if it's coming in November, coming in December, coming in January, just give us a rough idea of when the games are coming. The drip feeding of games, I think, really needs to stop it, and shadow dropping on near this isn't a shadow drop per se, but just give it a bit more notice, because we're still in the COVID situation. We need to have notice of these games going so we can plan and spend our pennies to get these games.
Absolutely.
That's where I come from with the shadow drops and stuff like that. It isn't, oh my god, I'm gurning because the shadow drops. Just especially with these times, we just need to know when games are coming. But absolutely great, we've got a bit of a notice for Ben 10 coming.
Yeah, can't agree any more on that front. I think it is, you've said everything that needed to be said there.
Stop agreeing with me. We know you're not no one's allowed to agree with me.
I'll disagree on the next one.
Okay. I don't think you will. Well, back again, once again, is Borderlands free-to-play weekend. We are both in agreement with this. On cloud gaming, free-to-play weekends are absolutely outstanding, because you can just jump in and play from the moment it drops to the moment it goes, and you don't have to download. You can just go in, jump in and play it. We're coming on to the game after is the game I think should have been the free-to-play game, and I wish they could go out there and actually go out and negotiate the deals for this. But Borderlands free-to-play weekend, this is about the 4th or 5th time, something ridiculous like that. It's been on free-to-play weekends, and if you've been playing the game over these free-to-play weekends, you probably would have completed it now, or nearly completed it, because it's been on this so often.
Yeah, and that is I mean, it is a bit of a scary stat from that. If you look at it that way, with the the amount of time that you get with it, you could have easily pushed it out and smashed through kind of from start to finish, which then might mean that you either don't pick it up or you pick it up and you kind of buy that sort of season pass to get the additional content for it. I think that the point where sometimes I think where we maybe do disagree is it's a free weekend again for Stadia Pro. I mean, how many people? I'm going to say, at this point, you've just talked about people that could have picked it up, played it, and actually maybe then decide that they don't need to buy it. But realistically, at this point, how many Stadia Pro subscribers actually either haven't played it or don't have it in their library already? I still feel that they need to be, focusing outside of that pro bubble and kind of saying to people, do you know what? If you've got a Gmail account, come and play Borderlands this weekend in the cloud and see what cloud gaming is all about.
Yeah, I think they would counter that by saying you can come and play Destiny 2 as the big, completely another free to play game and stuff like that. For me, I wish this was free to everybody else, but I think I'm still with this. I do wish it was free to play for everybody, but I understand it is more a pro subscriber perk, just like you get with Xbox and PlayStation occasionally, where you get the free to play weekends as part of your subscription or all that sort of carry on. So it's one of these ones I can see both sides on, and I'm not actually too concerned of being locked behind pro. But if they unlocked it, it could do wonders. It's one of them things out there where they could open up Stadia to far more people, get more people on board to give it a word. Because how many people would give Borderlands free a bit of a try if all they have to do is play it on the browser? So
that's the thing, and from my perspective, the fact they've used it for so many weekends, you might argue that Borderlands is probably a little bit easier to get into. Sometimes with Destiny, if you've either been away from it for a while or you don't really know what's going on, that sort of thing, it can be a little bit overwhelming just to sort of try and jump straight into it. And that's why I think games like that people maybe, not saying obviously people don't recognise Destiny, because of course they do, but something that's maybe a little bit easier, on the general scale of things for people, I just think would be a real benefit.
Yeah, again, I wish it was a different game, and I hope they're going to put a wee notice or something and say drop it down to balance mode so you can play it in 60 FPS instead of 30 FPS, because a lot of people may not know about that. That's something I really want them to work on as well, so you don't have to actually log out and log back in again to get the 60 FPS. But that is down a rabbit hole we do not want to go down at this moment in time. Next is Direct Touch is now available on iOS as well. This was originally this was originally on Android first, and it basically allows you to use your, probably the lazy way of saying it is use your touch controller as like a mouse and keyboard sort of thing. That's just me being completely and utterly lazy and butchering it. But this is the game I wished they put on the Pro, because this has a lot more possibilities out there, because it would be showing off this Direct Touch feature. You could also showcase state share with it as well, because it's got state share stuff in it, and it's a game where you come back to and play over and over and over again, because it's every time you play it different, because it's random each time. This would be a perfect game to get on a Pro weekend.
Yeah, it would, and I think if we look at those changes they made to the Pro model in general, where they're talking about play days and kind of how that revenue stream works, I think you'd quite easily say it's a really good candidate for that in that respect, because it is the type of game that there'll be some games that you maybe jump into once or twice a day when you get a bit of a break or when you get the opportunity. With this, I think it very much is a game that if you're kind of sitting down to play it, you know that you're probably sitting down to, just invest a little bit of time in it, get through a couple of rotations of turns. You're not necessarily going to do one turn and then go, oh, well, I'm going to jump back out now. It's not that type of game. You're kind of in it for a good few turns, which would then be a case of if you are playing it on a number of over a course of a number of days, then of course it counts to the play days that then counts towards the revenue. So I think what you're saying is spot on. And yes, I'm agreeing with you again.
No, don't be doing that. Again, this is going to be a game to maybe watch on Stadia going forward because they seem to be pushing it quite a lot. But we're going to come back to this game later on in the show when we're going to be talking about the patches situation or that good situation. Going back to this, what the big thing here is iOS has now got Direct Touch. Absolutely brilliant, and we need to see more games implemented as well. So pretty cool. The next one is another nice wee feature. It is a party chat, basically party feature. If you're looking to find people to help you play games on Stadia, absolutely welcome. This is because, as we know, the multiplayer on Stadia can be a bit patchy at times.
Yeah, no, it can. I think it's great to see they have featured it in the blog post. It's probably going to sound like I'm being harsh, but if I'm being critical, I would have covered it in an earlier blog post because most of the people in the Stadiaverse know about this feature, have all been raving about it, have been talking about it on Twitter, have been sharing it across their socials and saying how much they've been enjoying it. So it kind of feels like another one of those things where the ship sailed on the fact that it's out there and it's available, and then kind of just been stuck on the back end of the blog post this week. And I feel they could have communicated it, earlier. But that's one of those things that's just a small constructive criticism. At least they've communicated it. Mute.
It goes back to what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks regarding the blog post, where this blog post I feel could have been broke into. Let me just. I'm just going to go through this again. This blog post should have been broke into
4.
Yeah, I think definitely to the Festival of the Lost. It's only 2 sentences basically. That could have been a full-fledged feature, a proper blog post, just like Xbox and PlayStation do. Same with Ben 10. There isn't a fixed number of games coming to Stadia. This could have actually been expanded out and had another blog post. Data Play Weekend, absolutely brilliant. They could have raved about this, including what's happening in Borderlands 3 with the new adventure which is happening because of Halloween. There's another event going on there. They could have said Data Play Weekend, jump in and play this while this is on, etc. Just expand that out. The Direct Touch and the new party feature could have been lumped in together as one blog, and then put this week in Stadia blog post to a Friday as a roundup, as a catch-all sort of thing. That is what I would have done with this.
Yeah. And I think that would have been in a place where it would have worked. You would have had a good chunk of communications, and then you would have had that kind of almost like a the equivalent of a save point, I guess, but for the week.
Yeah, and that's what I think they should be doing with these. Each of them smaller stories should be as a blog post of some description, because I don't want to sound harsh. There is a lack of news coming out from Stadia. Stadia is pretty quiet most of the time, and if they were doing this, having 4 or 5 blog posts a week, it just gives the impression at least that there's lots going on in Stadia. Then that would have been 4 blog posts this week to start off with. We don't know if anything else is coming at the end of the week, and it would be the same the last week and the following week. It just gives a bit more vibrancy to the whole platform. And people will not be sticking around waiting for this week on Stadia blog post on the 5 o'clock UK time on a Monday. If they just drop this as an update post at the end of the week, they'll be waiting for that post, and then they'll be going, I don't know when Stadia are going to drop something, and it just gets things going, and then people retweet, like the tweet, and things like that. It just promotes it. It's just like an easy bit of promotion as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. And the other thing I think they could have slotted into a separate post, whether it be in with the features or whether it maybe be twinned with the free play days, the free weekend, is the game sales as well. I think that would have been good as a post to kind of sort of say, here are the sales that are on the, in the Stadia store right now, just so that you've got something to sort, a real grabbing headline. Play Borderlands 3 free this weekend. Oh, and by the way, while you're there, while we've got your attention, we've got all of these games, all of this content on sale.
Yes, we can touch into the sales now. If you give me a second, I'll get the sales up here. We were going to come on to that.
Little segue.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that little segue. Like, come on, that's just like effort for me having to improvise during things.
I apologise. Whilst you're doing that, we'll just I'll go through a couple of the latter comments that we've had.
I'm going to show this. Oh, this is quite interesting. But you go through that.
Yeah, yep, of course. So Goat there is saying he'd actually reactivate his pro sub if Humankind went in. Which is good. And then we've got Maker, who has jumped in to join us as well. So evening.
Yo.
Sup.
Yeah. I have to say, I like that. Ooh, look, one hand clapping is getting a big feature there. I think that's really good. Sorry, I just saying that. Obviously, Far Cry 6 is getting talked about a lot there. Oh, should we go into Far Cry 6? Since just remember, did we talk about Far Cry 6? We only talked about it. It looked like it was going to be 30 FPS, and it's been confirmed as 30 FPS. Or did
yes, we did. I don't know. I think no. Actually, it was confirmed, wasn't it? Because they said earlier in the week it was 30, and then they kind of dropped the Assassin's Creed because we spoke about Assassin's Creed Valhalla being 60. So I think we did cover that last week.
Yeah. From all intents and purposes, the Far Cry 6 on Stadia looks pretty well.
Yeah.
It's the 30 FPS is the issue. I have seen, and it isn't just me nitpicking or anything like that. Remember just what I said, Far Cry 6 looks really good on Stadia. There is a number of people struggling with the 30 FPS on it. Some people are feeling sick. Again, that's just not me saying that. And I just really wish there was a 60 FPS mode, because that is now basically a standard in modern gaming, that there is a 60 FPS for most games now. So I really hope that they go back like they did with Assassin's Creed Valhalla and go and add that. So I thought it was maybe worth touching quickly on that. Yeah, definitely,
because you are right in what you were saying. And credit where credit is due. Far Cry 6 does look. It looks great on Stadia. Visually it is looking good. It's just obviously that 30 FPS, which for some is a bit of a sticking point. But I think we've covered that one to death, I think, in the last week. But it's good to see that it actually, it does look good, on the platform, and people are really enjoying it as well.
That's where I was going to segue into, because I know you've been spending some time in it as well.
Yep.
How have you been finding it?
Do you know what? I've really enjoyed it. There's something about the. I'm quite. I am enjoying that. That story of that kind of powerful leader, kind of almost dictator of country and corruption, and trying to work through that. And as much as it feels like a traditional Far Cry game, I'm also loving the the vibes they've got going in some of the missions with the music, you know, some of the music tracks that are kind of playing as you're kind of doing some of the missions, almost just helps you kind of kick back, chill, relax, not think too much, and just, you know, pick people off, hit your objectives and move on. I mean, I think I've done through, I'll be honest, I haven't had a tremendous amount of time to sink into it. But I think I've worked through probably 11 or 12 missions so far in the, you know, in the storyline. So I know that's probably, I don't know, that's probably maybe only, if it's average size of a Far Cry, I guess that's maybe a fifth of the way through the story missions. But you know, so far so good. I'm really enjoying it, and yeah, it's great. It's great fun.
Yeah, I've played about an hour and a half, 2 hours of it, and I'm enjoying it as well. When I did my live stream of it, I did describe it as a Far Cry game. It just feels like a Far Cry game. I know that sounds completely and utterly daft because it is Far Cry, but if you like Far Cry games, you're going to like this one. And there isn't anything so far for me. There hasn't been anything brand new or anything. It is just a load of fun. For me, Far Cry games, for me, I spend a bit of time in them and then I get bored, and then I go, what else is there to do? It's not like I really get sucked into Assassin's Creed and things like that, but Far Cry just doesn't 100% appeal to me. I enjoy my time when I'm playing it, then I just move on to something else, something new. It's just one of them things. There's never something which really grabs me.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that is, I guess that's a, you know, it's a fair point. I think for me, I kind of think, because I just finished Kana, I'd kind of had a different vibe of a game. So I kind of went from that sort of, yes, it was a, you know, a story type game, but it was very different in terms of the type of game. It wasn't an FPS, it was something different to play. And then to kind of, you know, so to merge into Far Cry at this point in time feels good. But I'm still rotating it with the other games that I want to play. I don't stick to one game solidly. I'm still filtering stuff through, so I'm still playing bits of other titles in amongst just to keep it fresh, because I don't really want to get bored. And you know, and the way to prolong that is kind of do it in blocks, in chunks, and then kind of keep coming back to it.
Cool. We will move on to the sales, and let's just get this moved down here. What is on sale? Oh, NFL's on sale. So Blue Fire I've already got, so I can't actually see that. I've got Borderlands, the Super Duper edition, so I have. So we've got a lot of Borderlands game or stuff on sale. That's commonplace for free-to-play weekends. What else do we have here? Dirt 5 is on sale for £13 and £19. Okay, we're going to be coming back to Dirt 5 shortly. I think that's not a bad wee pick up for that sort of price.
No, I think it is. You know, it's a good price point. Even I know, as you say, we're going to touch on it, but even the Year 1 edition for an extra £5, I think is, you know, at sub £20 for Year 1 edition of Dirt 5 is more than worth it, because it's brilliant.
Yeah. It's for Dirt 5, it's an absolutely class game, and we know that there's stuff in the pipeline for the Stadia version as well. We'll move on. Here's the one with F1 2020 and the Schumacher edition as well. Again, I don't want to highlight it too much. I think I'll just highlight some of the problems in Stadia, but we'll move on. Grid is a 100% pick that up if you have not picked that up already. It's very popular in the Stadia community. People play Grid. We do the 40 car race, or we've got multiplayer. It is an absolute blast on Stadia. We play Grid. Sonny plays Grid all the time. So if you're looking to play with people, for £8 for the Ultimate Edition, go ahead and buy it. I have no hesitation in recommending that.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Grid is great fun. Thoroughly, you know what I'm like anyway. I love racing games, so I thoroughly enjoyed Grid, and the the multiplayer stuff just makes it even more fun as well.
Yep, it does indeed. So then we're into the Hitman. I'm not a fan of Hitman. We've got our first Hitman 3 big discount. I know there's been a lot of people been wanting that, and that has state share on Stadia as well. Again, why aren't they advertising this with a wee star? This has state share. There was something to do it. Actually, we'll click into that. I'm just saying, does this actually mention, does it have state share?
I don't think it does, actually.
It doesn't?
No, it doesn't.
Come on, highlight your features. But Hitman 3, what's your feelings in that?
Yeah, I mean, I've played the Hitman franchise in the past. I've not played 3 yet. It's it wasn't something that I absolutely diehard had to go in on day one. But certainly I know that Hitman 3 has done tremendously well for IO Interactive, which is good to see. So it's obviously resonated on all the right notes with the fans of the franchise, and it's been a good launch for them.
It has, because they did release that they have had absolutely bonkers sales because of adding the new platforms, and Stadia is one of the new platforms. I don't think Stadia would have done a big dent into the new platforms, but it's still great to see that the game is doing well, because I just want more and more games. I'm just greedy. I just want as many games as possible. Even if I don't like the games, I just want more and more. Moving on, we have Madden on sale. Madden's Madden. I think you know about Madden.
If you've got last year, don't part with the extra 38 quid unless you're that bothered about the roster changes.
Do we know what the multiplayer is like in NFL this year? Is it still a bit iffy, or is it a bit better?
I've not seen too much on that front. I know it was iffy at launch, and I've not really seen anybody, hugely talking about it that much.
Okay, we also have the kids game in Marvel's Avengers. I think I don't know how much it actually is here, but Avengers isn't a bad Wii game, and depending on the price, it may be worth picking up.
Yeah, definitely.
One hand clapping in early access. It's a singing game. It's a singing game, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And it's in early access, so just be warned, this is in early access. And it's something different, and I like seeing different games.
It's good. Do you know what? I mean, I can't sing for toffee, but it is good fun. I've got that in my library because I picked it up when it first dropped, where I think it was like £2 or something like that, and it was brilliant. It's good fun. Put it that way. Yeah.
Everybody's got a price for a game, and £2 was your price for one hand's clapping. Outriders, I would avoid Outriders on Stadia. And I don't think I'm actually saying anything controversial there. If you want to play Outriders, check out it. It's on Xbox Game Pass. It's on GFN as well. It gets patched.
I think that's fair. If you're going to invest money in it, then yeah, I'd certainly say invest the money where you know that you are going to kind of get the patches for it. And I think People Can Fly have been a little bit fly, shall we say, with the amount of attention they've given to patching on Stadia, unfortunately. Oh, you're on mute.
Maybe. I thought I unmuted myself. Red Dead Redemption 2, I don't think we need to talk about that game. If you haven't got it, go pick it up. It's a masterpiece of a game, and I think everybody should actually experience the game and make their own minds up on it.
100%.
And then we're in the WWE 2K Battlegrounds. I think that's not a bad price for a bit of fun. It's a fun little wrestling game. You can play it single player, you can play it in multiplayer. It is just that price there. It's not a bad price for it.
Yeah, it's not a game that takes itself too seriously, obviously, because it's kind of an off year for the franchise where they just try to have a bit of fun and be a bit playful with the characters and some of the super abilities and that sort of stuff. So if you take it for what it is, it's a good bit of fun.
Yeah, and that's what people need to realize. A lot of these games, you just have to take them at face value, and don't. Some games are serious games. Some games are just meant to be a bit of fun, a bit of crack, and they may not review well, but it could be a lot of fun. Like, perfect example is what we've been playing over the last couple of nights in Zombie Army 4. It's not going to win Game of the Year for anything like that, but it is just mindless fun, and it is. You just have a laugh playing it, shooting people in the head and decapitating zombies and things like that. You can just sit and have an absolute blast playing it. And sometimes you just need games like that.
Definitely, especially when you're topping the scoreboard, Duncan?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mr. I'm sitting like third or whatever it was in the score charts, and then literally bang out of nowhere this mad combo that he just went on a little run. What was it, 86?
It was about 86, yes. I should have had 100, but they ran out from zombies. But we won't talk about that. We'll move on to Jade's interview. Jade Raymond was out talking to gamesindustry.biz over the last wee while, and nothing really unusual came out from the interview. There was a bit of they knew the writing was on the wall for Stadia Games and Entertainment, so they were looking to jump ship, and Google Stadia allowed them to jump ship pretty easily, which is absolutely great to hear. She also talked about how Stadia's tech and the atmosphere in Stadia was absolutely class, and again, she was just out there talking because she's moved over to PlayStation.
Yeah, absolutely. It was good to. I think that was her first interview, actually, wasn't it? About Haven and what she's kind of doing and what she's working on. And of course, there's a lot of she's got a lot of the team that were with her, at SG&E. But I think the nice thing to take from it is, yes, there were some kind of things that she kind of said that just acknowledged things that we already knew, we already had an inclination of. I think what was good was she was able to talk quite fondly about actually what the process taught her, what she learned from it, and kind of what she learned was possible with the tech. And I get, the thing that is probably the most interesting and the most inspiring and the most exciting to sit and listen from an interview in that is, we know how good the tech is, but what that's then done is that's gone on to motivate a creative team of people to go and create experience based on what actually can be achieved, what can be done, and trying to push the boundaries, and that's brilliant.
It is indeed. And there is a bit of sadness for me with this as well, because you heard her talking about some of the cloud stuff, and it's what might have been on Stadia with this, because it looked, by the sound, what I'm seeing, I have to word this right, because everybody takes my stuff slightly out from context. In my opinion, I think they're bringing a lot of what they were working on in Stadia to their new game and studio. You might be working with some cloud stuff behind the scenes because we know PlayStation are pally at this moment in time with Xbox with their sort of cloud stuff, so maybe they're working with things there. But it's going to be really, really good to see what's going to come out from them, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And your mama knows is in the building, so thanks for joining. You can say this. You can say this.
It's a bribe to join the next episode of the Stadia Avengers. That's we can't turn it down, can we? We'll sort something out and try and we'll put something in the schedule to make it happen. How about that?
Yeah, I think we've got a copy of that kicking about somewhere.
What? Avengers?
Okay. I've got
Avengers.
You've got Avengers?
If you remember.
Oh. Oh yes, I knew we had it. We were lucky enough to get actually a couple of copies of it.
Yep, we were indeed.
I forgot. You reviewed it. My head's like a sieve. My head is like a sieve. But thank you very much, Anthony, for doing that. So it's fun. Shall we move on? My goodness, I thought we wouldn't actually be talking that long.
It's us. Come on.
Yes. And we've got 3 more things to cover here.
2?
3?
3. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. You remembered. Yeah.
Ghost Recon Frontline. The closed beta has been delayed, and this is for all platforms. This isn't just Stadia. This is Ghost Recon Frontline has been pushed back. Outside of the Stadia community, again, I'm just prefacing this. Outside of the Stadia community, this game has been panned by the long-term fans of Ghost Recon, and generally it's going to really need another one of these. And again, this for me is throwing up a lot of red flags. If a game was due to be coming into closed beta shortly, and it just went, nope, we're delaying that after the big announcement the week before, that for me raises some massive question marks.
I think it does. There's for me, there's twofold. I think the important thing to emphasize here is not only has it been delayed, the wording was pretty definitive. It's been delayed indefinitely. So it's obviously kind of caused quite a serious rethink. So there's kind of 2 things there that you kind of have to look at. Obviously, we knew from earlier in the year and from some of the investor calls, Ubisoft were saying we are going to be going less kind of the big annual franchises, the big kind of heavy intensive games, and we're going to start to push more down the games as a service route. And they've gone into last week, the 20th anniversary of the franchise. They've announced something only to within a week have to then kind of pull back and renege on that. Now, obviously, I think internally they'll be reassessing that. They've clearly missed the mark. I think that the thing that for me, I don't want to say it's a positive. I think it's a demonstrable situation that shows the power of supporters and the power of people that are kind of loyal to these franchises. The showcase trailer for that had 18,000 downvotes compared to 4,500 likes. Now, we all know how the downvotes, the upvotes work, but when you've got 18,000 people
saying... We definitely know how the downvotes work.
When you've got 18,000 people saying, nah, I'm out, and then you see some of the, a lot of the comments that have been made about it, that Ubisoft, in my opinion, have had no way out other than to turn around and go, hang on a minute, we need to hit the brakes and reevaluate here, because we've completely missed the mark with the people that love the franchise, and also anybody else that may well have, have kind of seen the trailer and thought, oh god, no, we don't need it. And I think it's Anthony. They actually do have a battle royale in Hyperscape. But that's not, again, that I don't think that's not done terrifically well either. Yeah.
That's what I was just about to talk about there, was Hyperscape. They've tried to get into the Battle Royale scene, and they're really trying to get something else on top of Tom Clancy. I think they're trying to get I don't want to say casual, because it's not really like a casual sort of market, because people who play these battle royales stick an absolute fortune into these. They're trying to get like a Fortnite or a PUBG, something where people will play over and over and over again on top of Rainbow Six Siege. Because there is masses of money to be made and masses of potential for them to actually expand that out. But I'm concerned, or there you go, Anthony, you got your concern there, about Ubisoft, because they seem to be really trying to push this battle royale sort of thing and more shooting games, because we've got that other game coming out from them as well. You're going to say it, and I'm going to kick myself.
X-Defiant.
X-Defiant. Yeah. They're pushing X-Defiant, and then we've got the Division Heartland. I know that's not going to be 100% a battle royale, but that's more into that sort of PvP sort of space. They're just trying to get these games as a service, really pushing them. So people are just going to continue to come back and play them. They're trying to get the new hook onto people to play these games. I think it's going to maybe bite them in the backside.
Possibly, you may well be right. And I think, of course, the thing is as well is, with the likes of, obviously X-Defiant is a bit of a mashup. Heartlands is, Division. It's not a new franchise, but it's newish. If you look at it in comparison to Ghost Recon, which is just celebrating its 20th anniversary, both of those are or certainly the Division side of the franchise is relatively young, shall we say. But the reception to that and the reception to X-Defiant has been totally different to the reception that they've seen for Frontline.
Even again, in the Stadia community, X-Defiant is blowing up, but outside of the Stadia community, X-Defiant, it hasn't got the negative sort of press, but there's nobody really hyping this game up. It is very, very flat. Anthony, I just go back to this point here. I clicked on it. It's just it. No, it's been a wee something. If the job listing is still there, it is still saying streaming games and Stadia and the capitalization. We're going to keep an eye on that to see if any more of these listings come up. I actually checked before it came on today, and there hasn't been really anything much going on there with that front. And again, with X-Defiant, the other battle royale was Hyperscape, and there was a massive ton of interest in that to start off with, and then it just petered out really, really quick. And I have a laugh now because it's some of the viewing figures on Twitch are ridiculously low, so they are.
The one thing that I don't get about that, and I'm going to be, this is a genuine question here. Why on earth, when they are Stadia's biggest contributor from a publisher perspective, why on earth is Hyperscape not on Stadia? give it a home, make something of it. There's a community of people there that enjoy Ubisoft games. Put it onto Stadia, see what it does. Let's see how it performs and how people, what the reception is like. At least give it a try.
See, I talked about that last year. I think there was some sort of fun and games involved because they were really pushing Twitch with Hyperscape, and that may have been a factor. At this moment in time, there is 19 people watching Hyperscape on Twitch. So,
fair point.
And to answer why do I think Hyperscape's not on Stadia, I don't think it's worth their time and the effort to port it across. With the user base the way it is at the moment, they will have to implement absolutely everything across it. So,
fair enough.
Okay. Moving on. Oh, should we put up your banner? Yes, we will.
I bet.
Oh my goodness. We are going to report there is a Phil Harrison sighting out there. Thanks to Anders for pointing it out to me earlier today. Phil Harrison is alive. He is still at Stadia, and he is on the Game Awards advisory panel. So he is advising on that front. Okay, Barry.
That's it. Nothing. That was a trolley pull of the face there. I know. Phil gets a somewhat mixed reception, but it's. I mean, he's got a habit of just appearing out of places, hasn't he? We hadn't seen him for ages last year, and then he just popped up at the the Ubisoft Forward event and went, Immortal Phoenix Rising exclusive demo can only be played on Stadia. Bang. And everybody was like, whoa, what the hell? Phil's still around, and here he is. He's done it again. He's turned up in the listings for arguably the second biggest gaming awards show in a year. The bigger one is 2 days after.
Yes. We haven't announced the date yet.
Oops. Hashtag leak.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so you'll be hearing more about that soon, and we're trying to arrange some interesting things for that. So keep your eyes out from here.
Yep. I totally forgot we hadn't said about that yet.
Yes.
Oh well.
Yeah, so it's all a bit of fun. It's all a bit of fun, but it's good to actually see Big Phil is out there, and he's still part of Stadia. I'm just going to advise some caution. Just because he's on the panel doesn't mean he's going to announce anything on stage there. So it's a good sign. He's alive. He's on there. So let's be hopeful something will come out from it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at some of the other people that are on that panel, it's clear that they, regardless of maybe your thoughts of of Mr. Harrison, it's clear they've gone for an advisory panel that's got a good bit of depth and experience, within the gaming industry.
Yes,
so yeah, I definitely don't be expecting anything.
Phil Harrison has got a lovely reputation in the gaming industry. Some of it is deserved, some of it isn't deserved. But I think he is relatively well respected by his peers, and I think that should be duly noted, despite his reputation out there in the wider gaming space. I think that is actually fair to say that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you think back to what was it? Was it the Summer of Gaming 2019? Was it, or was it GDC when he sat down with your man and kind of had that conversation about kind of what Stadia was and the direction and what it was looking to achieve? So there's kind of obviously certainly a bit of history there between the two of them. So
yep, there is indeed. Okay, you're not going to like the answer I'm going to give from this. The last Stadia announcement from the Stadia senior management, what was it?
It was February time. It was when Big Phil himself posted the update about the thing that we no longer talk about because you're not allowed to talk about it because it happened 8 months ago.
Yes. But if you're talking about just generally a positive piece, I would say the last time would be when Big Phil was at Ubisoft Forward to announce the Phoenix Rising.
Don't know, you had Jack Booster at the end of the year.
Was he end of the year?
Yeah, he did that interview at the end of the year, didn't he? Talked and said that year 2 was done and dusted, they were sorted, they had their content for 22.
Yep. And we are reveling in the content as we speak. And
I just knew you were going to say something.
no, I'm having a bit of fun. Come on, sometimes you just have a bit of joke. People overreact to this.
I was just
what announcement would be mind-blowing for Stadia? I think Stadia. What announcement would be mind-blowing for Stadia would be any announcement. The big. If they got, I'm not saying all the games. If they just got, we've signed another deal with EA, and it's on top of FIFA and Madden. We are going to get another 10 games or something like that. It's just something to infuse to get the base enthusiastic on what's going forward, because there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Disharmony out there. If you go onto Reddit every day, even on Twitter, it's not me actually causing it on Twitter for a change, because I've been pretty quiet on Twitter to be fair.
You have actually.
We have. There's disillusionment. That is maybe a good phrase, and I think there just needs to be some sort of communication. Even though I hate the direct or connects, even if they're gonna connect and just announce some more games, or make a big blog post saying, here is the rest of the 40 games coming this year. We know most of them, by the way. And here's the rough time scale. It's a 40.
You beat Joe. I think we're under 20 now.
Under 20.
Yeah.
I'm being positive.
Sorry.
But here's the last amount of games coming this year. Not word it like that. Here's some games coming to the end of the year. They're coming out in November. They're coming out December. Rough dates, just to keep you ticking along.
Yeah.
Just to get that going. And what I would really want is games into the next year, like which are coming. Just to settle nerves down.
That's what I would have led into either kind of some other announcement in terms of, actually, do you know what, some of the existing partnerships that we work with, we've negotiated X, Y, and Z, or we've done a new round of deals with some of the existing partners to prolong those relationships. But then also, I think with the time that the Game Awards would drop, I think if you wanted any kind of senior management announcement from Stadia in December, it would be, okay, Q1 of 2022, this is what it looks like for Stadia. Bang, bang, bang. Rainbow Six Extraction January, this in February, this in March, right the way up and until Easter, and just give people a real scope of what to expect in that first quarter of 2022.
Yes, indeed. Again, it's just give us something to get infused about. Next year is approaching fast, and we don't want more Ubisoft titles. Ubisoft titles are good. They are great, but Ubisoft titles are on Luna. They are on GFN. Again, we need something more.
Yeah, definitely. It made me chuckle, but I seen on social media earlier somebody refer to Ubisoft as Goobisoft.
That's what?
Goobisoft.
Ubisoft?
The first part of Google and then
Oh,
Ubisoft.
yes.
And put them together.
Yeah, again, we talked about this last week. Ubisoft is a publisher. They make good games. Sometimes they make great games, but I wouldn't put them in the top tier bracket anymore. I think they've had too many little waivers now. I didn't like New Assassin's Creed. We're seeing the feedback here. They're a good developer, but they're not on the level of a Take-Two with like Rockstar and things like that. We need to see variation, and the mindset of Ubisoft, as you just made the joke there, is a first party on Stadia when it's not. We need to move away from just relying on Ubisoft for your third party games.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a couple of good discussion points.
I was just going to say, I was literally looking at the chat, and there's some really good ones going, isn't there?
Submodel is. I really want the submodel on Stadia, and I've been very clear on this, and I've been very clear on this for a long time now. I want both options. I want a submodel and a buy option, but I think Stadia should be a submodel first, where you sub to your games and you buy games to supplement on top of that, and that will take the pressure off them getting the big games day and date. If Stadia Pro is the main focus, you don't worry as much if WWE 2K doesn't come, NBA doesn't come, FIFA doesn't come, or anything like that, because you're subbing for the games rather than going to buy games. And for me, Stadia at this moment in time is a platform where you buy a game first and then you sub second. And if they swap to a sub model, that means they could change the format somewhat. And if you buy games on Stadia, there'll be 4K. I was going to say 4K 60, but if you buy games, they're going to be 4K no matter what. And I think there's just so much there they can actually do to mix things up.
Sorry, I was just checking to see if I could get the answer to something. I was just looking at Anthony's point about how many games Take-Two come out with in the past year versus Ubisoft. I don't have the answer for this year, but I mean for 2021, fiscal 2022, so April 2021 until the end of March, they've got 21 games slated for launch.
I'm going to tell you one game which overtakes the vast majority of games on Ubisoft's library, and that's NBA.
Yep.
And people buy NBA year in, year out, and no matter what. And it's just like FIFA, it's just like Madden. And if Take-Two was the exclusive one, I would still be calling, we want more developers on board, more publishers on board.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, the more developers, the more publishers you have on board. You know, the more opportunity you've got for even a smaller percentage of games. You know, even if it, because I think you'd be naive to say, well, actually, do you know what? You get some more publishers, you're going to get all their games, because we know from experience that's flat out just not going to happen. But if you increase the devs, you increase the publishers, you do increase the chance that you can bring some good content into the fold, which then increases and bolsters your library.
Yeah, Anthony, I don't play the basketball games either. I'm trying to look at a wider sort of focus. Oh, you looked like you were going to say something? Nope.
No.
Shall we move on to our last topic? Because this is...
Yes, sorry.
where we our last topic is, because we didn't think this was going to be an hour long at all, but we can always talk about Stadia because we are passionate about Stadia. Before we move on to this topic, I just want to get this because this is going to be a bit fun. Overall, if you're just in Stadia land and you're not looking outside Stadia land,
Anthony, that's you.
What do you think of this week on Stadia?
I think if you were to give it a rating out of 10 this week on Stadia, you'd probably give it a 1.
Out from 10?
Out from 10.
You're going 1 out from 10?
Yeah, because if you look at what's in that blog post, if we broke down this week on Stadia, you've got Destiny, which everybody else has got. You've got Ben 10, which is something which is new. Obviously, you've got the touch controls, which is on iOS, and then you've got a free play weekend and some sales. I think when you couple that with the presentation of this week on Stadia, it's nothing more than a 1. I think most people would skip past that news in a heartbeat because I don't think there was much in there.
Yeah, giving it a rating, okay. I wouldn't be as harsh as a 1, but I would give it a 3 or a 4. Again, this is talking about platform features, which is always great to have, but it's a lack of content, and the main thing which people play a platform for, and that's games. Ben 10, absolutely great for the kids, but it's not appealing to me. The free to play weekend is good, but it's Borderlands free again, and I've got that, and it's been doing that. What was that? Sorry,
I was just laughing at Andy getting the Streamlabs bot refraining from spamming capitals.
Yes. And your mum knows, I think we would count that as last week because we would have covered that last week. I think the last couple of weeks on Stadia have been really good weeks for Stadia. They've had a bit of the M word, they have a bit of momentum there. This week has been not a big step back, because I know people, it's just the way we talk over here. It has been a bit of a step back for them this week, and I think if anybody's going to be honest about it, they probably would say that as well. Me getting these touches support on the iOS is an absolute great thing. The party chat is a good thing as well, but it's not, oh my goodness, this is a reason to come on to Stadia and things like that. And I think that it's always come back to the content. And speaking of content, we will move on to the last bit of the show. And let's bring out the fancy graphics again, where I've lost the fancy graphics.
You broke them, haven't you?
I've broken them. What is going on with the game patches on Stadia? This has actually been came to my attention about Dirt 5, but there is an absolute series of games on Stadia which are behind the patch schedule. You've got Dirt 5, you've got Outriders, and you've got a ton of others as well, are completely outside of the patches. Oh, Humankind's another one which is outside the patch, which is a big talking point of this week as well. What is going on with the patches on Stadia, Barry?
I mean, I think the obvious answer is not a lot at a fast rate. Before I go any further, I'm just going to bring that up and say thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's some of it in essence kind of, I feel, some of the games we have to look at. Some of the games, if you look at Dirt 5, it launched probably 5 months after it launched everywhere else. So I think it's natural to have an expectation that they were always going to be playing catch up with Dirt 5. So I think if you kind of put Dirt 5 to one side and put it in its own little box, whilst I don't think it's a great look, you can kind of say, okay, I can get that because they're they are probably 5 months behind everywhere else. in terms of the other games that we're talking about in, F1 2020, Doom, we've seen Humankind, obviously Outriders, a lot of the big ones that everybody's spoken about. It's fundamentally, it comes back to standards, in my opinion, and it comes back to, at the end of the day, if you sign an agreement to publish a title on a platform, then you commit to deliver a minimum standard of quality defined in the terms of service with that platform holder. Then obviously it requires management on both sides, so you have the team within the developers that need to manage their workload and know that they can keep up that momentum when they make that commitment. They're not just going to take the cash and they're not going to run. But then it also requires the coming together of the two parties for Google to turn around and say, well, actually, do you know what? You signed an agreement within the terms of service that said, we will pay you X amount to bring this title to the platform. Here are our terms. Here are the minimum kind of specs that we want you to deliver. And within that, with regards to the updates, we expect you to hit the targets and we shouldn't be in a position where we're left behind. I think that it's probably the most simplistic and straightforward way I can say it. That's how the conversation should be happening. Anything outside of that just looks like, that the platform is further down the priority list than everything else, which I know you can put the argument forward, so, well, do you know what? Xbox have been there 20 years, PlayStation, this, that, and the other. I appreciate that, but that's fine. If that's going to be how it is, then at least do some form of communication to make sure that kind of, people are kind of going to be aware of that. I think probably the biggest example, which I know we touched on earlier, is Outriders. There's a lot of people partied 60 quid for Outriders, as a day and date title, which originally wasn't going to, it wasn't due to arrive day and date. It actually kind of got moved up ahead of schedule. And as much as that was celebrated that it's here, I kind of feel like we're suffering that now because they've pulled it forward. It wasn't polished. It wasn't ready. The patching hasn't been kept on top of. And it didn't help the fact that Outriders got off to a bit of a rocky start anyway. And that was across all platforms, not just Stadia. It didn't have a particularly good launch weekend in terms of their servers and, kind of stability and that, in that perspective. There we go. I've finished now.
You've finished now. Are we sure? We're finished now? Okay. For me, I just want to call out some good devs. I think it's always good to do that as well. But there's a reason why these games are always patched, and I think you'll see when I start naming them. You've got Destiny 2, you've got PUBG. They are cross-platform games, and they have to stay up to date, so all the versions talk to each other and everything to work right. This is what I've been yapping about for a while. It isn't just about getting the games on the Stadia, it's the issue. So paying for these ports across, absolutely great. That really need to be paying for a lot more ports down the line to keep this going. It is the ongoing support that needs to be done, and especially for multiplayer sort of games as well. They have to make sure that they're going to update them. Because we've had NBA 2K21, last year's version, didn't receive patches for a long time and things like that. It is down to cost. If devs are not making money on it, they are going to lower down the totem pole. So then you're left with a choice. The harsh choice is, do the games come to Stadia, or do the games come to Stadia and they don't get patched, or do you not want the games at all? And that is going to be it does open that sort of can of worms. And there was a game a couple of months ago, I know what the game is, but I don't want to say it out loud. They didn't update the game on Stadia because they hadn't made any money on the game on Stadia, and it was costing them money to actually support the game. this isn't a big, massive EA, Take-Two, Activision, Ubisoft. This is an indie dev who needed to update the game, but it was going to cost them money to update the game because they're just not making any money. If Stadia was in a position where games were making a fast amount of money, not only would there be a lot more games on Stadia, they would be updated really, really quick. It is such a hard balancing act here for the smaller devs. The bigger devs, I don't think they've got any reasons not to have them up to date. We're talking Ubisoft, we're talking Take-Two, but the indie devs, I would give them a lot of leeway in this regard, just because we just need to understand the business reasons for it.
Absolutely, and it's fair play in highlighting that because it is stuff that does make sense. Ultimately, the games industry is there for people's entertainment, but behind that is a money-making machine, and people don't go. I think you'd be naive to think that people go into the world of crafting games purely just to craft an experience for everybody to enjoy sitting in front of their computer screens or their TV screens. It's it is a business just like any other. There are people's wages, there are kind of building costs, hardware costs, all that sort of stuff that kind of comes with it, and that is that's one of those things. So it's I think it's a good way to highlight that from your perspective, from the from the indie side.
Yeah, indie side, I would. Okay, I have to say this again because I have my fun in games and say Bungie's an indie studio. Technically, it is an indie studio. When I'm talking indie games, it's the generally understood term of indie game where we're talking like single or small teams making the games. We're not talking multi-million dollar corporations or stuff like that. It's just the not smaller sort of developers. Yeah, I think it's absolutely right for the community to go out there and chastise the bigger devs for not updating the games. Oh, wow.
I wondered what you were going to say then.
Okay. But I also feel that Stadia needs to take its role as well. I do not think Outriders should be on sale on Stadia. Just like what happened Cyberpunk on PlayStation. PlayStation pulled the plug until it got up to a serviceable sort of condition. I think Outriders is approaching that sort of condition because it's getting beyond a joke with Outriders now, and it really needs to be fixed. Again, I do not mind if devs come out and say we are going to be working on it and it's in our timescales, and they've had good faith before, like Codemasters with Dirt 5. They have said, yes, Stadia is on our roadmap, but it's going to be further down the line. We've seen this with some indie game developers as well. Said we're going to be releasing Stadia's in a bigger patch like a week after, where you're going to get. That is fine, just communicate on rough timescales.
Yeah, absolutely. Communication and setting expectations are key in those scenarios, because then all parties go into it knowing exactly what they're expecting.
We'll do Anthony's last point and then we'll move on and close it off for the night.
Yep.
I hope Stadia has something big planned. I think we all do. But I don't think they do. I think they're just going to do a slow burn, which is going to push away the hardcore gamers and keep gamers like me a casual gamer. Here's the thing. For me, this is just me, my observations out there in the Stadia community. I think you have the hardcore Stadia users. It's Stadia till I die sort of thing. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. You have the people who are maybe still use Stadia and they're a bit disillusioned. But I'm just seeing a lot of churn, and by churn, what I mean is people who have been drawn to Stadia in the first instance fell in love with gaming again, and it gave them a reason to game. And because of do you agree with this, then?
You're kind of stealing the limelight of what I was about to say, but it's
you
all
go
right, carry on.
You say it, but you'll say it more elegantly than I can.
Don't be daft. No, I do you know what? I was actually going to use myself as a very prime example of what you were just talking about. To all intent and purposes, I owe Stadia a tremendous amount because I'd kind of lost my mojo, if you like, with regards to gaming. I kind of wasn't really gaming. I wasn't picking stuff up. My console was just sat there gathering dust, and it had gone on like that for a number of years. Things had taken kind of other priority. It didn't necessarily sort of sit kind of there in that level of importance. But Stadia then, you know, the techie in me was attracted to everything that kind of Stadia offered and said, what can it do? And it 100% got me back into gaming. The biggest problem was, or the biggest problem is the fact that for somebody like myself, yes, it brought me back into gaming, but I outgrew it very quickly. So it served its purpose, and obviously, yes, I've still got it, I still use it. But the problem was that passion for gaming and that beast inside of me then came out, and then all of a sudden Stadia wasn't enough. I had to consume more content because I could see I couldn't just consume content on Stadia because that passion had come back, it had started to flow. And I think that's something that you've got a lot of people that have maybe are very similar in that respect, where it's brought them back, or you have got people that maybe have moved on, they've got families, they don't have as much. I mean, God knows, with families, we don't have as much disposable income. You don't have as much disposable time, all those sorts of things. And the benefit of cloud absolutely ticks that box, even if it gets you back into gaming just a fraction.
Exactly. See, I go do this all the time. I'm just going to go, Barry, you know what I'm talking about. You work away on that and explain it about 1,000,000 times better than I did that. Patrick, we'll cover on that in 1 wee second. That's exactly it. I'm just saying the churn, as I'm calling it. We've got people who fell in love with gaming again with Stadia and have just moved on to pastures new because Stadia couldn't keep up with their appetite for games going forward. People have mocked me for talking about GFN as much now because it's a cloud service and it's in competition with Stadia. And I love GFN because they just drop game after game after game after game. And if you want to see how it is different on GFN, if you watch one of our GFN shows, we don't talk about gossip, we don't talk about anything like this at all. We talk about games for the whole hour and a half, and sometimes nearly 2 hours just talking about the games on GFN. And it's just an absolute joy to actually do that because we find hidden gems of games and things like that, and you don't have to worry about the patches or anything like that, which is what this tangent is actually about.
Sorry.
But that is the patching issue is driving people to play the games on different platforms as well. And that's as a platform, that is a concern, because if the patching process where your marketing material is all about no patches, no downloads, realistically, we know that behind the scenes that has to happen. But if you are going to be outpaced in that by every other platform, and you have them people having their heads turned, then you do have people spend money elsewhere, and it starts a chain reaction of a set of circumstances that then, as a platform, become uncontrollable. You don't have the same captive audience, you don't have the same draw, the same pull, and that kind of you sort of lose that weight, really. And how do you get that drawback in? Exclusive games. And that here endeth the lesson on patches on Stadia. Patrick has got a thing about Life is Strange add-on issue on Stadia. I have seen about this, but I'm not 100% sure on what is going on. Have you seen about this at all?
The Life is Strange one, no, I've not seen.
Yeah. I think it really needs to get looked at, and it's an absolute pain, so it is. It's just real interesting, because this is not the first time, because there was an issue with Life is Strange before that as well, where if you pre-ordered the Super Duper edition, it didn't actually unlock. So I'm assuming it's going to be something related to that as well.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Okay. Here's my deal. If it's a game of Stadia I can find GFM, I'm not buying it in Stadia. I don't want to make it into a GFM versus Stadia thing, but there's pros for Stadia and there's cons against Stadia. There's pros for GFN, there's cons against GFN, to be completely and utterly honest with you. Yep. And we do talk about the cons as well. It's not a lot of people, maybe if you're Stadia fans, you probably don't really go on to our GFN show, but we do talk the cons on GFN as well. And your mama knows the games you showed sucked. Again, that was the first time I've actually done it that way. That's basically the format of our GFN show, where we just talk about the games. We're just trying to mix it up there. Last week's was pretty fun. Anthony, you'll love it because I get slagged off the whole time in it. I just get made fun of constantly through the GFN shows.
Yep. Kelly well and truly sticks the boot in from like minute 1.
Yes. And I think that we will end there. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you had a bit of had a good time. This has went on about an hour longer than I thought it was going to go on.
Yeah. Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah,
just a bit. But it's good conversation though, as always.
Yes. So thank you all for joining us, and should I do my plugging here? If you're a channel member, you get a load of different wee perks and such. The membership start at £1 or so. Next Tuesday, we're going to be doing a play along for members only, where people can just jump in. We're going to be choosing the game, and everybody can jump in and play, and things like that. Okay, I'm going to do it. Kelly's going to shout at me. Sorry, Kelly. We're going to be giving a game away to members again this month at the end of the month. You have to keep your eyes out for that. I have a feeling it might be a GFN game again. Sorry, people. But it's easier to give games away on GFN on Xbox and other platforms.
Yeah, no, it is.
Okie dokies. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you again soon.
Indeed. Bye.
Bye.